You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found in the podcast link at drawincustomers.com. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Holy cow, that was some metal there, wasn't it? Today, we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Andrew Gonzalez, who's a business banker at Park Bank, as well as the front man for the band Cherry Pie. Andrew,
Yes.
How's it going today?
It's going.
Man,
it's going, man.
I am pumped to interview you.
Well, I know this has been a long time coming, too.
It has.
We were going to try to do this before, and
Right?
plans fell
Just
through.
life
and
happens, right? I get
Life
it.
does happen. That's right.
I get it. The first thing, so I'm reading your title here, business banker at Park Bank.
That's correct.
And front man for Cherry Pie.
That's correct.
I check out your website, and you're playing, 3 to 5 nights a week?
Yeah, well, during the summer season, which we kind of consider, that mid-May till right around early September.
Sure.
Both last year as well as this year, we're at 50 shows.
Holy
So,
cow.
yeah, I had 4 shows just this last week.
All right.
And I got 4 shows again this week.
Dang.
So, yeah, it's the busy season.
So you got to
what
tell
can
me,
I say?
when do you sleep?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't really.
'Cause-
It's mostly when I'm driving back from the show.
Oh, nice.
I'm just kidding.
That is crazy, man, because that's just a lot, right?
Yeah, it's
All right.
it's a lot.
So you must enjoy it.
It works out to about it's pretty close to 100 shows a year that the band
Holy
does. So,
cow.
yeah,
That is awesome. So
yeah, it is. It is.
so let's start with the boring part, so to speak, the
Sure.
business
No,
banker
no,
part.
that's not totally boring.
No, I say that
I get it,
tongue in cheek
though.
kind of thing, right?
Right, right.
When you tell people you're a banker versus you're a front man for a band, you probably get some different reactions.
That's right. It's like frosted mini wheats.
That's
you
right.
got the unfrosted side, that's the banker, and then you get the
Perfect.
frosted side. That's where it gets better.
The
so.
mullet of success here. So, business banker, how long have you been doing the business banker thing?
So I've been a business banker for the last several years.
Okay.
At a couple different places, and I've been in the banking world for about 22 years now. So,
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I've had my worn a lot of different hats.
Sure.
Over time, but been with Park now for going on about a year.
Okay.
And was able to join that team. So amazing bank.
Yeah.
Had my eye on them for an awful long time. And
Sure.
when the opportunity came around, I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Let's roll.
So, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And that's here in Sun Prairie.
Yeah, Sun Prairie and the east side of Madison. So Park,
Okay.
Park is is more of a Madison
Sure.
and Dane County
Sure.
centric institution. But I really cover more the east side of the county. So
Okay.
including far east side Madison,
Sure.
Sun Prairie, DeForest, Wanakee. So.
And you're dealing with business loans, or what is it that you
Yeah,
do?
loans as well as services. I mean, we've got
Okay.
specialists that will come in and take care of the deposit needs, and
Sure.
if there's other ancillary services, treasury management, things that people need.
Sure.
Yeah, I pretty much handle the business lending relationships and
Okay.
any new credit requests that are coming in.
Sure.
So-
And I imagine, have you seen that increase just over the past?
Well, yeah, I mean, the economy's good.
Turns out, yep.
Yeah.
So far,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, at this point. And rates are low. In fact, rates have actually come down,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit here, depending on what type of credit is being
Sure.
asked for. So it's we've seen it very steady, I'll say that.
Sure. Okay.
And yes, things have picked up because I think, you're very familiar with the entrepreneurial world,
Mm-hmm.
and you deal with a lot of clients that, are they've either got an idea or they've got a business.
Right, way
They may
agree.
not necessarily be at the revenue stages yet, but
Right.
they need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something where myself, as well as my colleagues and then
Right.
others, in the market too, with other banks, we're a great resource, to be able to get you connected to the right people.
Sure.
So. And that's I say that because there's enough business to go around. It's not just
there's
all
a ton.
about
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just all about one particular bank.
Right.
So,
And I imagine
but-
every bank has their kind of niche, more or less, what they're looking for. Or
yeah, for sure.
you're probably not jumping up and down to get restaurant business, I imagine.
Well, I mean, it really depends.
Okay.
Again, I think there's a lot to be said for each particular deal, and I
Sure.
don't ever necessarily look at anything and just say no right out of the gate.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
It's I've I don't manage any staff right
Sure.
now, which is the first time in 17 years not being a manager.
That's
So
got to be
like,
a relief.
yeah, yeah, it totally is. It totally is. So it's just, it's given me a lot more time to focus
Sure.
on my clientele, and then certainly the colleagues that I work
Sure.
with more closely to try to help them out in whatever ways that
Sure.
I can. So
Sure. I say the staff thing because we hired a new employee and she didn't show up today. I was like, man, this is kind of annoying.
So do you still have the staff then?
I have staff.
Yeah,
I
but not that staff?
Not that staff.
Not that
I need.
staff.
I need an additional one. That's.
I gotcha.
That's been a tough nut to crack. So, but that's.
Well, and
story
I'll tell
across
you
the
what,
world.
it's interesting you say that, because if you go around and you look at, any type of businesses these days, there's a lot of help wanted signs that are out there.
Oh, tons.
And, it was one thing for many, many years. I mean, even going back a decade ago, for people trying to get the minimum wage jobs, right?
Sure.
Or the entry level jobs,
Yep.
or maybe they're in college or they're, in high school and, they get the time off in the summer and they're taking those jobs. But there's so much competition for that, that it's difficult for the minimum wage jobs, even the $10, $11, $12 an hour jobs, to get and maintain because,
Yep.
the economy again is so hot right now.
Right.
There's more jobs available than there are people
Yeah.
to fill them.
Right. Or at
Yeah.
least qualified people, right? By qualified, I mean show up.
Right. Yeah, showing up to your job, that's pretty much
Super picky.
really important
Yeah.
to be able to keep that job. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for where the economy's at today. I think, moreover, what people really need to be cognizant of and be prepared for is, not if, but when more downturns come. And we don't know what that will necessarily
No,
look
nobody
like.
knows.
Yeah, no, but ride this out while you can.
Right.
And because at some point things will change.
Yeah.
At some point, things will be a little harder for me to be able to get loans through. Rates will go up. And who's to say what'll happen with values
Yeah.
that are out there? So
I can remember we got a loan or I should say I got a loan for a building that we had for a business in 2009, I want to say. 2008, 2009, something like that. And it was almost how many wheelbarrows of money do you want?
right.
But it was on a 5-year refinance thing.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right, so
sure.
it's 30
5-year note. Yep.
Yeah. So it was amortized over 30 years, 5-year note. So I go to refinance it, and the bank's like, you should have never gotten this loan. And I'm like, what are you talking about, right? I've been making payments. Everything's cool.
Right.
And they're like, well, the guy that's not working for us anymore, he didn't check all the boxes, right? With appraisal or paperwork, whatever. So we just want this off our books.
Yeah.
And so now I got to find this $80,000 somewhere.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I got the building, right?
Yeah.
But now I got to refinance it. And
Yeah.
so you have to jump through a few hoops.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, unfortunately, we could go on and on and on about
Sure.
each individual's horror stories that they
Right.
ran into. But there was a lot of lending practices, back in that 06, 07, well, even prior
sure.
to that
Yep.
time frame leading up to the 08 when things crashed. And it wasn't just on the business side of things. It was
Sure.
also a lot of on the residential.
Oh, totally.
So you saw a lot of subprime lending and lenders, different financial institutions taking advantage of people, in my opinion. And and again, putting them in situations that they may not otherwise have qualified for, or
Right.
didn't check the boxes, or kind of
Right.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Yeah.
forgot to check the boxes,
Sure.
and got people into things just so they could write the business. And that, of course, that's not helpful for anybody.
No.
So
So, yeah, life goes on.
yeah.
I got the loan somewhere else. So we're all good.
Hey, there you go.
It's all good. Life goes on. So, what is your favorite thing about running the business bank side?
Well, I don't run it. I mean, I kind of run.
Life-wise.
Yeah.
Right,
I
we'll
mean,
call it the wheat side of the frosted.
oh
mini
yeah,
wheat.
yeah. The unfrosted side.
Yeah.
Of my life. So, again, I've been doing this for 22 years.
Yeah.
And, I've learned an awful lot along the way. I guess, the question would be, like, why do I keep doing what it is that I'm doing?
I ask that
I
to
do
myself every day.
Well,
right?
I think,
Arguably to everyone, right?
right. I do enjoy what it is that I do. I feel like it adds value.
Sure.
And I feel like, when you get an opportunity to assist someone with their dream or their vision or their livelihood, maybe offer some advice or be able to provide some service,
Sure.
then I guess you could feel good about that.
Right, right.
We don't all have $1 billion in the bank.
Turns
You know?
out.
Yeah, turns out, right? Yeah. Need to work.
Sure.
I've been really blessed
Mm-hmm.
to have had this career, today, but as long as I have,
Right.
banking has been very good.
Sure.
Banking has been very good to me.
Right.
So, again, it's a blessing to be able to help people in that particular way. And
Sure.
as a manager for many, many years, I enjoyed that. People gave me an opportunity early on in my career, and had a little bit of faith in me. So,
Sure.
I was able to kind of, turn that around, and
Right.
as I hired people and trained people and worked with people and worked alongside of people for many, many years, that was a great opportunity. The business banking thing now, it's nice because I mentioned before you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I still wear a lot of hats. I don't have to wear them all
Sure.
all of the time now,
Right.
but it is nice to have had that, prior experience in doing a few other things within the financial world.
Sure.
Because I have a better understanding about, the overall picture.
Right,
Not
right.
I'm not an expert on everything.
No, no one is.
No, and I don't think anybody is. And if they say they are, then
They're lying.
Probably lying. Probably lying. That's wishful thinking. But
Right.
but again, it's amazing to be able to help out people. And so I did a short stint
Okay.
in my finance background and career with a CPA firm.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was a sales and marketing director for a little while, and I thought it was interesting, very interesting, in fact, because prior to that, I go out on a business call, or I'd
Yeah.
call people up and I'd say who I was and
Yeah.
who I worked for and
Sure.
what I did. And it was always kind of like, what are you here to sell me?
Oh, sure.
And it was funny because then when I had a business card that had the CPA firm on it,
Yeah.
people opened up their doors,
Oh,
sat
really?
down with me, wanted to show me all the spreadsheets. Here's my QuickBooks. Here's my
Wow.
Peachtree. Here's my, what can you help
Sure.
me with? So I learned from that very quickly that it's kind of how you approach things.
Sure.
So we're never selling, we're helping.
Right.
We're assisting, and I think that that's important for bankers to remember. And there are many great clients out there that realize that, that have figured that out. But I think there's a lot more people that are afraid to approach,
Sure.
because they don't want to be sold or pushed into
Sure,
something. So
sure.
really, I mean, if we work as advisors, that's then again we're helping the situation.
Sure. Sure. Interesting.
And I found that I figured that out working there, and I thought, well, what in the world is the difference? I'm the same guy coming out to meet with you, but
Right.
but I just I carry a different title, so
Right.
one is just less scary than the
Sure.
others.
Sure.
People are looking for help.
Right.
They want to be advised. They want to get some ideas.
Well,
They
is
want to
there-
bounce their ideas
Right.
off people.
A lot of them certainly, well, I would say most of them actually need it. I find that a lot of people are almost afraid to ask for it.
Yeah, and I think the fear from the asking part is that they may not even know all the questions. Like you don't know what you don't know. Right?
Totally fair. Totally fair.
And I think that again, I point back to there's a lot of resources that are out there that people are unaware of. And so if they talk to people like myself or
Right.
my other colleagues or
Right.
even folks like yourself,
Sure.
you can help make things a lot clearer for them and maybe help them on a path
Right.
to be successful.
Guide them a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Help them along.
Right.
Make that dream a reality. It's
Yeah.
interesting hearing you talk. I'm like, when some people are talking to you, they almost have to buy, not necessarily from you, but when someone's looking for a bank, they're probably looking for a loan or something like that. So whether you can help them or not, for them to make their business a reality, they have to get that loan.
Potentially.
So-
I think that a lot of times, people aren't aware of other avenues that are out there.
Sure.
And so, the first thing that pops into their mind is, to finance
Sure.
it with debt. But there are sometimes other ways. Again, someone comes to me, I try not to ever just say no.
Sure.
I think that it's a much better approach to be able to say, here's how.
Sure.
Not no, but
Right.
okay.
These are the steps you have to take.
Yeah, it's kind of a an if-then chart, and you go, if you do this, then
Right.
this. If you do this, then this.
Right.
This will eventually lead you to what it is that you want. More often than not, I find that clientele are they're in a hurry
Sure.
to get to the end goal right
Oh,
away.
all the time.
Yeah.
You want to skip these next 20 rungs and just be at the top of the ladder.
And, you know, I'm not saying that people aren't lucky enough sometimes to have that happen.
Sure.
It does happen.
Sure.
But I think it's pretty rare.
Yeah. It's the exception to the rule.
Right.
Right.
Right. So people just need to be realistic about that.
Mm-hmm. I had a client of mine say she was having a rough time getting a loan from a bank. And I was like, well, let's just go over your business plan. It was really thick, but I had zero financials.
Oh,
Like none. And I'm like, this is the only thing that the banks really care about. Like whatever it is you're selling, there's the widget. And as long as you're not a typewriter repair person,
right.
you're probably cool, right? If you're selling something that people in some way, shape, or form want, right? Fantastic. Then you got the marketing aspect of it. But if you don't have the financials, you don't even know if you can make money at this.
Right. And again, I think, you know, I mean, the financials, you talk about that. And I think what's also really important inside that business plan or even just outside of it is your projections.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where are you at this point? You know, you know, what's your accounts receivables look like? Do you have any sales yet?
Right.
Or do you just have an idea?
Right. It's a little dream.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here's the way it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea. I want to sell whatever X widget.
Sure.
I need $50,000 to get that idea started.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen.
All right.
There are funders that are out there. There
Sure.
are finance companies that are out there that will take equity in your business or charge you, you know,
Sure.
a lot of money to originate a loan or high interest fees, you know, for things like that. But you know, I would say that you know, a traditional bank is you know, not gonna lend based on
Sure.
that. We can help somebody, you
Sure.
know, and kind of show you where you're at in,
Sure.
you know,
These are the steps to take.
Yeah,
kinda?
these are the steps to take. These are the people that we would, you know, suggest that you talk to. These are the things that we'd like to see.
Sure.
The milestones for you to hit.
Right.
And, you know, I think a lot of people just, you know, they don't put enough thought into it initially.
Right.
So there's always kind of the back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's the back to the back to the back to the drawing board.
Right.
And, you know, eventually you get it right.
Right. That's fair. In the classes that I teach, the business planning classes, I see people spending too much time on the actual dream or the widget itself and not enough time on can they make any money at it? Will they be able to pay back a loan? Like that'll take care of itself kind of thing. Or it's not as much fun, so they don't pay attention to that part.
Right. And, you know, there's a lot of different services that people can offer, talents, products.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're starting off, another very important approach is to really fine tune it.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have an idea that spans across, you know, 5 or 6 different product lines
Sure.
and things that you can do, but you do one really well, or you got one that's really promising,
Right.
or shows the most potential to be able to, you know, create some revenue stream and get
Right.
you out through. Focus on that.
Yep.
Focus on that first and do
Sure.
it really well, and then, you know, build around that.
Yep. Build upon your success. Yeah.
Mhm.
First you have to have success to build upon.
Yes.
So awesome. Now let's shift into the front man for the band Cherry Pie.
Ah,
This is the frosted portion.
that's right. Flip that mini wheat over.
So right. So how long have you been doing this?
So I've been with Cherry Pie since September of 2017.
Okay.
But I've been doing live local music since the early 90s.
Wow.
So
All right.
early mid 90s.
So how did you get into that?
how did I get into
Like
music
you're
in
just
general?
like
or
I love 80s hair bands. So
okay, so I'll tell you the quick story on the
Sure.
80s intro thing here. So
I love 80s, so it's all good.
no, that's great.
It's a
There's a
safe
ton of
place here.
people that still do. I still count it as, you know, some of the best music that
If
was
they
ever
don't love it,
created.
I don't love them. So that's all good.
Yeah, well, I don't say that, but no, it's great stuff, and it's interesting to me how many generations it spans. You know,
Sure.
especially here in the summer because we play a lot of family-friendly shows.
Sure.
There's some younger people out there. There's even little kids. You know, we had
Yeah, it's Wisconsin kids and beer
we
tents.
had
the thing.
we played at Columbus
Yeah.
their festival. Just the other day, we had a little guy named Isaac get up. Little, I shouldn't say little. He's 10 years old, but I honestly, I thought, and it was kind of funny because I thought he was about 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
Really tall kid. And he gets up there and he's playing electric guitar with the band. We were playing Nothing But a Good Time, and he rocked it out. It was just an amazing time. It was so much fun. But the cool thing is that, even at age 10, and some kids are even younger, they know this music.
That's fantastic.
They know this music, and so,
have hope
good
for
job
the world.
on you parents and grandparents for keeping this stuff alive.
Yeah.
And so, no, it's a lot of fun. The 80s stuff, it's interesting. So I got to tell you just a little bit about my background. So I went to Christian school growing up, in the 80s, and I didn't really get a lot of exposure to this stuff. Oh, I knew who Bon Jovi was.
Right.
We just didn't watch MTV all that often, and again, I knew what the stuff was culturally because of commercials and TV, but so that's been interesting for me, and I'll get back to that point here in a minute. But in some of the bands that I've been in over time, we've dipped our toe in the water with some of that big 80s hair rock.
Okay.
And I found I can sing Def Leppard, I can sing Aerosmith, I can sing Journey and Bon Jovi. So the last band that I was in, Kings of Radio, was almost 9 years.
Wow.
And when we started off, we were doing a little bit country, a little bit rock, a little bit pop music.
Sure.
And we had a female lead singer along with myself in the band. We were doing Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift.
Okay.
So that's quite a bit different than what it is that I'm doing now.
That is a gamut.
Yeah,
Holy
it
cow.
is. But it was really cool because the musicians we had in the band. I mean, they were just fantastic, very very diverse, and able to play all of that stuff. So so it was cool. It worked. We had some personnel changes that kind of took us down a little bit different path. And it was funny because, in those last, I'd say 3.5 years, we really gravitated more towards, well, it's funny because I mentioned before, like for clients, do what you do well.
Yeah, right,
So we did the rock stuff. I felt very well. And so we did. And so I got a chance to fill in a couple of times with Cherry Pie going back to 2015 and 16.
So they've been around longer than you've been.
They've been around for 20 years. Yeah.
Have they really?
Cherry Pie has been around for 20 years.
Wow.
Yep. So long-standing band, and
So you had some big shoes to fill.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
2 decades. That's a long time.
Former lead singer was with them for many, many years and did a great job. In an ironic twist of fate, he's now singing for my old band.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I think it all kind of worked out. And but when I got the chance to fill in with Cherry Pie, a couple times, they got to know me. And so when the time came, they wanted to do some changing around and stuff. Yeah. They gave me a call. So.
Is the band community within Madison area? Does everybody just kind of know each other, or how did you get called in for?
I think so. So I've known. So Josh is a keyboard player, guitar player. He sings in Cherry Pie, and he's one of the original. There's two guys. He and Dave both been in the band for 20 years. Yeah. And so I knew Josh. I knew the former lead singer. Sure. I knew of a couple of the other guys, and again, I think that's really kind of. Yes. If to answer your question, that network, it's not just really Madison. I would say the Southern Wisconsin Music Network.
You guys are traveling
it's
around
outside the Madison Musicians Guild. I mean, that's a little bit more specialized. Just in the four walls of Madison. But once you get out, bands across different genres and whatnot. I mean, we know each other, and I would say that it's tremendously easier today to develop and maintain relationships and learn about people just with social media outlets. I mean, back in the 90s, right? When you had dial-up,
nobody had cell phones.
Nobody had cell phones, or if you did, you had, you were paying a tremendous amount for
$5 a minute,
right? For a few minutes a month. It's amazing where technology has taken us, but I think MySpace really was kind of a launching pad and more of a test pilot for what that was going to be like. And, I remember being on that and getting to know a little bit more about people. But when Facebook really took off and blew up, and it created an opportunity to market yourself and a platform to really get your message out there. I mean, back in the day, you would have a list, a sheet of paper up at the front
Yeah.
by the stage and say, please put down your name and your email address.
Oh, yeah.
And we had the email lists.
Sure.
You know, we'd send off these email blasts. Hey, we're going to be at blah, blah, blah place.
Right.
Well, it's totally changed now.
Sure.
And there's a lot more, avenues out there than Facebook today
Right.
to be able to get that message out. But I think that's how the community really has gotten so much more well connected.
Right.
So, yeah. And, those guys knew of me. I came in, I filled in. It was, I got to tell you this story because,
Sure.
So I knew of Cherry Pie. In fact, I mentioned they've been around 20 years. 20 years ago, I was in a country band. I was
really?
playing the Dry Bean and places like that.
Sure.
We'd go in and it was, a Friday, Saturday night. And it was all country and line dancing and two-stepping and the whole thing.
Okay.
So I'd come in and I'd see these big, oversized posters of these guys with the big hair.
Yeah.
And and I used to think, what in the world is that all about? Never knowing that someday I'd have get a chance to
Dreams do come
to
true.
share the stage with them. So, well, and funny enough, I mean, at the time it wasn't my dream. I was really
Right.
digging the country thing.
Sure.
And but that was really popular at the time. Cherry Pie is it's an amazing project.
Sure.
They're really amazing guys. The entire crew that we work with, I guess, I could point out special things about each of the projects that I've worked with over time, but
Sure.
they really are very, very unique. It's kind of an over the top experience.
Yeah.
We've got the confetti and this, pyrotechnics going
Sure.
off on stage and
Right.
and just the interaction with the crowd is, it's at a different level and it's just a different experience than
Right.
than with with some of the other bands.
Right.
So it's it's a lot. It's a very, very different world for me to be singing in front of sometimes a few thousand people and have them jumping around and
Right.
putting their fist up in the air and dancing to the music,
Yeah.
rather than two-stepping around the dance floor.
Right.
It's just a night and day
Sure.
experience for me.
I suppose 20 years ago, the line dancing thing was kind of fad, was taking off more or less, or maybe
yeah.
even was that the time that swing dancing was kind of coming
96,
around?
97, 98, 99.
Sure.
I mean, in that whole time period.
Sure, electric slide and all that jazz.
Yes, that was all made popular
Sure.
by
Macarena, whatever.
the Macarena and whoever else.
Sorry for bringing that
No,
up.
no, it's all right. Thanks. I'll have that song in my
Sure.
head for the rest of the day.
I've had Let It Go in my head for the past hour.
Oh, no.
After I let a 4-year-old visit my office. I'm like, man,
Mistake.
it's stuck in my head. So, I mean, when I saw your show most recently, I don't know the name of your guitarist, the lead guy, but he was, when he did that little, 30-second blurb on each song, and he's knocking out Sweet Child of Mine, and then he's banging on Whitesnake. And it's not like he's looking at music. That's just memorized, and he's
he's
nailing it.
So can I say his name?
Totally.
All right, Mr. David Zettel on
All right.
lead guitar. I try to give him a couple shout-outs during every
Dude,
show.
he's a
which is-
machine.
He is totally a machine. Dave, believe it or not, in his day job,
Yeah.
he is a guitar teacher.
Is he really?
Yeah, so
well,
he's
I
got
can
like-
totally believe
Yeah,
that.
he's got like 50 students. He
Yeah.
lives out closer towards the Milwaukee market.
Okay.
But students of all ages, and
Yeah.
so he's been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
At least as long as he's been in Cherry Pie. He is amazing. I will say for all of those guys, and not to take anything away from some of the musicians I played with in the past, but
Yeah.
for this specific genre, I mean, and maybe even outside of that,
Yeah.
these guys have really honed their craft.
Yeah.
They, they think it, they can play it. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how good they are. And for me, again, that's been an amazing blessing to just be able to step into all you have to do is just sing these things and front the band and,
Yes.
and make it kind of fun. But you're singing to, it sounds like the record.
Yeah.
It
It makes it a lot easier to sing along to, I imagine.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're
for
almost
sure.
like you're in your car jamming, right?
Pretty much in my car jamming with hundreds or thousands of people. It
Yeah.
depends on the show, but
That's
yeah.
super cool.
Oh, it's been just so much fun. And again, I think not just the versatility and the music and the things that we can play, but I mentioned we've had a chance to play to a few different crowds, especially in the summer, where you're not in the bars.
Right.
So you get little kids that are there.
Sure.
So we can fine tune things to a family friendly show. I say that it's not as if there's not swearing and perverse
Right.
things that are going on.
Right.
If it's not a family show, but it's cool because kids of all ages can really come out
Right.
and enjoy that. And I can confidently say that they do.
Sure. That's awesome.
Old and young.
Yeah. That's super cool. So you must have fun doing it.
I do. And if I didn't, it's so much, it's so interesting because if I think if you were to, line up musicians
Sure.
and have them come in here, I don't think anybody does this, for the paycheck.
Sure.
I think they do it for the love of, of the music and the, the joy that it helps to bring
Right.
the people. You have no idea some of the, sideline responses that we get from people because they can message us through our page and stuff. Or if they pull us aside at shows and just say, hey, just so you know, that really meant a lot to me.
Right.
Or, I met a couple, this last week that was kind of telling me a story about, they pulled me aside. They said, oh, we know you're busy. We just want to tell you our story real quick. And they'd been, they'd known each other for about 7-8 years. Timing just wasn't right at the time, but they'd recently come together and they really enjoyed the band. They had that in common for so long. And so, I sent out a special song for those guys. And I know that, and that means they asked me, would I be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Whether it's a birthday or, just highlighting somebody, making them smile. That's really what it's about.
Right.
Honestly.
I imagine just the energy in the crowd and stuff like that has got to be worth the price of admission alone for you right there.
I think so. I mean,
I don't know how you sleep at night. I don't mean that to mean, like after 2 a.m, right? Everybody's all fired up. You're like, all right, I got to go home, go to bed so that I can be a banker tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's the, and thankfully there aren't, during the off, they'll call it the off season, the bar season, we're not really playing during the week.
Sure.
So you just save that for the weekend. But during the summer, I mean, there's a few days I'll need to take off, and just because it's almost impossible logistically to get around, and fulfill all the job duties.
Yeah.
But it's a little difficult when you're driving home sometimes 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And, you're tired. But you get home, you're hungry, you got to take a shower.
Yeah.
It's hard to just come down from that.
No, I know, like for me teaching classes at night, business planning classes, right? You're just fired up, right, from that crowd.
Yeah.
And that's teaching business planning. I'm not jamming to Warrant or something like that. Like that's going to be just a whole nother level of just being so fired up that it's got to...
I guess, but I do think that, I think it's a safe bet to say everybody on stage has been doing this for at least 25 years.
Have they really?
Or
awesome.
more. Yeah. So I think
So it's old hat kind of.
Well, not old hat. I don't want to use the term old hat because I don't want people to ever think that, they're just getting on stage and they're just doing this as an act. I mean, it is real.
But maybe they've trained themselves to be able to sleep.
That's just it. You hit it on the head. It's the training of how do you approach this?
Right.
What do you do prior to a show? Not that you have to have rituals or anything, but what do you do? Like, for me, on the way to a show, I warm up probably about that last, if it's a longer drive, that last 15, 20 minutes.
Sure.
Honestly, I sing country songs on the way out there. There's a few artists that I really like and that I grew up listening to. So I do that. I get to a show, we set up. That's an hour to 2 hours.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of production that goes into this thing. And that's another thing that's very different about Cherry Pie is it's the level of of the production itself. It's, like I said, we're trying to give people an over-the-top experience. So you can't do that by just putting up a couple, speakers on sticks.
Here's a mirrored ball, have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's well above and beyond that.
Sure. So tell me about, one thing I've always been curious about is you got your schedule, right? You're always set up and you got your guys, everything's rock and roll. And then one of your guys is like, hey, my kid's sick, I can't make it. Or your sound guy is like, I got a flat tire, I'm going to be an hour late or something like that. Like, because that has to happen over the course of time.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I would say, almost the only time that I have missed a show in 25 years, my wife had an emergency surgery.
Oh, all right. But I
That's
imagine with the circle of people you got, you can always find a backup kind of thing, or
we do, yeah. And any time that we can foresee that there's going to be, an issue, we've always kind of got a plan B.
Sure. Okay.
Sitting in the wings.
Sure.
I think with Cherry Pie, it's a little bit different. There's few of the guys, this is more of their livelihood, you know, than anything else. They just spend a lot of time doing music and doing different music-related projects for their work.
Sure.
So, you know, it's just full-on dedication. I think
Right
everybody understands that from the beginning. So,
Sure.
yes, I have sang when I didn't feel like singing or when I didn't feel like I would be able to have a voice to sing because of an illness or something like that. But somehow, you know,
we've all worked it out.
Somehow
right?
you make it through.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
It's you just got to kind of dig down deep sometimes and get through it.
No, I get it. Totally understand. So let's downshift into the business side of the band because I've been super curious about that.
Oh boy.
Because one, I envy the people in the band because I'm like, that's so awesome. Anytime I've been at a job where you're on the, let's say, the bar side of the bar, you're not on the crowded side of the bar.
Yeah.
It's always more fun. In my mind, like you're the entertainer, you're just doing whatever. I used to work in a movie theater for a long time. I was on the concession stand or selling tickets where you're having fun with people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the crowd. I want to be the one entertaining the crowd. Right? And the movie theater, there was no money. It was so terrible.
Right.
So I wonder, like with the band, how much, like, are you making enough money at it to justify the expense? Are you making enough money to be able to live it as a full-time gig? Or is it just kind of like, we make some, we lose some kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I you know, again, pointing back to the fact that, you know, the band's been around for an awfully long time.
Yeah.
I would
name
say
recognition, you got a following.
there is yeah, you know, you could go into a whole different, you know, show about this and branding and everything else and how do you do that. There is name recognition, but I think the one thing, so Frankie Trash, he's the drummer in the band.
Frankie Trash?
Frankie Trash, yep.
That is the second coolest name I've ever heard.
It's not his real name.
Fair.
It's not as cool as Frankie, but his real name is Frank, so but he goes by Frankie Trash.
Sure.
There's a whole big story behind that one too.
Mr. Trash to you. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Trash. No, he's the band manager.
Okay.
And Frank really, you know, again, I mentioned before, there's unique properties about every project that I've been in.
Sure.
As to the reason why it's successful.
Okay.
And so I think if you really picked things apart, you could say, well, yeah, there's the musicianship, there's the level of musicianship, there's the music that we play, there's the production that goes in behind it, there's the behind the scenes. Again, Kevin is our stage manager, and he just, I mean, he's a guy that I've never been in another band all these, you know, 20 some odd years. Never had somebody that just fulfilled that role.
Sure.
And, you know, so there's things that I could go on about that. But Frank is very, very dedicated to this. He's booking. We've got bookings that go out to 2021 right now.
That's fantastic.
Right. It is. It's very fantastic. And, you know, but we also understand that, you know, things, just like with any business, do have the potential to change.
Sure.
So, you know, I don't know if it's a strike while the iron's hot type of approach to doing business. They've done this for 20 years and been successful, so they've been striking that iron for a long time. And
has he been with him the whole time?
He's been with them for 14 or 15 of the 20 years.
That's a while.
So yeah, a long time. There's been a couple different drummers, a couple different bass players.
Sure.
And I'm the second front man that's come in the band. So it's interesting to see that even despite those changes, you know, some maybe more significant than others.
Sure.
Whether it be production companies that were changing or adding or, you know, taking something away from the show.
Yeah.
That we've still found new ways to reinvent ourselves and continue to be interesting without losing the core and the basis for who we are.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's been real. Again, I can't say more than, you know, it's been a blessing to step into a project like that and be invited to be, you know, a part of a project like that. I got the chance to do that very similarly with a band many years ago called Super Tuesday.
I remember Super Tuesday.
Right, yeah, those guys were already moving,
Yeah.
and they had a personnel change, and they asked me if I wanted to come in, and, you know, I stepped into something that was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I
again,
say, remember, are they still around?
Super Tuesday is still around.
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, yep. They have had a few different member changes, but I know there's at least I think Jeff is still in there.
Okay,
he's one of the original
Nice.
founding members of that.
Yeah.
But they too have been around for, you know, like almost 20 years,
Yeah.
or maybe more.
I can remember seeing them when I first came to Madison in 2000, or in that realm. The early
I was
2000s.
with them from 2004 to 2009.
Oh wow!
So-
So 5 years with them.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay, well I probably saw you way back then and
Yeah,
didn't
you
even
might
know
have.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was the punk kid.
At Wanafest or
Sure.
Mount Horeb or
Right.
one of the
Sure.
big festivals
Whatever.
around.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Yep.
That's awesome. So that leads as a little segue there.
Yeah.
I just listened to the autobiography of Eric Clapton,
Okay.
and he's got a little bit of a dark history. He's just a dark person.
Right.
And there seemed to be a lot of bands that he was in where it just didn't work out, right? And he didn't quite say it, but I get the impression that he was kind of a jerk. And so he either got booted or he just left because the rest of the world didn't conform to him. So life goes on. But in bands, there just seems to, you always hear about this with even the popular bands, right? They break up because of whatever, right? Yoko comes in or something like that, or so
Yeah.
has that been a challenge?
Oh, yeah. Over time, there's always, outside influences that,
Sure.
that can, well, think about this. You go into, the band's formed as an LLC. Every band I've been in for the last, almost 20
Sure.
years, or close to it anyway, has been an LLC.
So they do create, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, we create a
business entity.
They're multi-member LLCs. We kick out K1s at the end of the year
Sure.
if we make any money.
All right.
And I think that's another misconception too. Is that there's, you claim what you make,
Right.
and you pay the taxes on
Right.
whatever, and you get a lot of expenses too.
Sure.
So
Well, I bet just traveling with all that equipment and the equipment.
the traveling, and again, every band is a little bit different, but we've got a tremendous amount of things, and we hire out third-party production companies
Sure.
that work with us consistently. We're working with Breezy Point, and
Okay.
right now those guys are fantastic. Can't say enough about Jason and his crew. But yeah, think of it this way. So if you or I, or let's say you and I,
Sure.
we got our heads together and we said, you know what? Let's go find 3 more guys. We're
All
gonna
right.
we're gonna start a business doing X.
Sure.
Whatever it is, right?
All right.
Fill in the blank.
Right.
It's almost like it's almost like being married to 5 people at the same time, right?
That's so, just right off the bat, I'm like, nope. Because I've had partners,
Super difficult,
some
right?
good, some bad, but there was just one.
And
Now you introduce 4 more.
right. And so when you think about the direction that things go, there is some I think there's some natural hierarchy that sometimes
Sure.
happens in businesses.
There's going to be alpha that shows up, I suppose.
Sometimes,
Right.
I think one of the amazing things that has worked with Cherry Pie, for example, is that we may have a little bit of that from time to time from the band management perspective and
Sure.
the booking and things like that, but at the same time you can go, well, okay, well, this is the person that specializes in helping us with this.
Sure.
And so people let them go do that, or we get
Right.
someone who makes the set list, or we have someone who talks about production, or
Right.
whatever it might be.
Sure.
So you approach it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
No, do we sit down and have board meetings and regular business meetings? No, for
No,
goodness sake.
okay.
No. But think about this. If you factor in the fact that we're on stage for about 3 to 4 hours together,
Right.
every show.
Right.
We have to get to shows about 3 hours in advance, and we're together for about an hour or more after the show,
Right.
tearing things down.
Right.
Take that times 100 on an annual basis.
That's
You got an awful lot of time together to be able
Yeah.
to figure things out.
Right.
So, and we do take time to decompress. I think that's really important.
sure.
And I would say that to anybody, from just a business standpoint.
Yeah.
It is really important to take time to set aside,
Sure.
to talk about things that, aren't just the songs that you're playing.
Right. Well, I imagine just pricing a gig. There's probably some opinions in that regard, right?
From time to time, I think, there's generally been a point person in just
Okay.
about every project. I did a lot of booking in some of the prior projects that I've
Okay.
been involved in. And,
Sure.
And, I think you discuss your strategy
Sure.
up front.
Okay.
Everybody's cool with it.
Sure.
And then you let them know what the results were.
Right.
You come in and you go, hey, we
Sure.
got this gig booked, and
Right.
this is how much we're making, and this is what production costs are.
Sure.
I think transparency is really important, and it's appreciated by all.
Sure. Then, I guess breaking down the business then is there's equipment that you have to buy. So if somebody says, "Hey, we need to get a new amp or whatever? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, again, every band is a little bit different. I think
Okay.
individually owned items are,
Okay.
That's on the responsibility of the individual.
Gotcha,
You want to
okay.
buy a brand new guitar, you want a specific amplifier or a foot pedal or
Sure.
some sort of a drum thing, whatever. I mean, you go buy those things.
so it's just like a mechanic. Bring your own tools.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, from that perspective, we're kind of hired guns coming
Sure,
in, but
sure.
we, we do it under the guise of a
Sure.
of a business, an LLC, a band, an entity.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that the band, the LLC owns
Sure.
as well.
Confetti shooters or whatever.
Right.
Sure.
No, lights, confetti shooters,
Right.
fogging machines, all that type
Right.
of stuff. I mean, so essentially there is a balance sheet,
Sure.
which is kind of funny to think about,
Right.
and it's going to look different, from
No, that's
project
part of
to
the reasons I
project.
wanted you on the show, because I'm like, you see, as an audience member, right? We see like, oh, you're around, this is fun, awesome music and all this stuff, but you're like, that's a lot of people
Yeah.
in a band that have to cooperate, and they have to cooperate under, when they're tired probably because they work their day jobs doing whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there's this whole you're fired up, they get some energy. I imagine some people have some recreational things that maybe you don't agree with, whatever. That throw some alternatives in there, some challenges in there. It just seems like there's a business side to just about everything, and the
Yeah.
business side is the band. I'm like, I want to know about that.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't know, from my perspective, and maybe it's just because I'm used to it or because
Yeah.
I deal with business, in my day job, in,
Right.
in my life. So I'm always thinking about that
Sure.
aspect of things. The business part of it aside, though, it's interesting because, we generally put up a curtain. We've got a kabuki curtain
Sure.
that drops, at the, after the Warrant Cherry Pie song
Right.
is done playing, and,
Right.
and boom, that's it. And it's like everybody just kind of has this switch.
Right,
It's like you go, okay, for the next 4 hours,
right,
we are going to rock these people's faces off.
sure,
And that's our job.
right,
And then when you get done with that,
Mm-hmm.
by and large, it's, we're all just regular people. I mean,
Right.
just like any other band, local bands,
sure,
doing cover music, or if you're doing original music, or even
Right.
the big guys that are out there. It's, it's, I'm certainly not who it is that I am on stage,
Sure.
in real life. I'm this conservative dad that's
Right.
that's a banker,
right,
and I can go on stage and rock, and then
right,
after the last song, thank you, good night, hope to
Right.
see you again,
right.
and then
I gotta clean up, go home.
I'm back to conservative banker dad.
Sure.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's got to be a lot of fun.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's fun and it's a sacrifice, and I appreciate, my family and my wife and mom, dad, sister,
Sure.
friends, best friends, and close people that have supported this over time. And I could say that about all musicians. I know we're all very appreciative of that.
Sure.
When you think of the arts, there's a
Right.
lot of, whether someone's a sculptor or a
Sure.
painter or a poet, or a singer or a songwriter, whether you play guitar or you just sing or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone appreciates that. I don't know that any one of us are necessarily doing this, to win an award
No.
or to get the accolades. Again, I think the biggest reward is, having some impact on people
Sure.
in their lives. If we can brighten their day for a few hours,
Right.
because
No, you do awesome at
never
that, man.
know. You never know what it is that people are going through.
Right. Right. You can fix it, give them the bump they need. and-
Yeah, I mean, we can try.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If there's any better way to have more fun, I don't know it
Right.
than jamming
I agree.
80s hair music.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else? I got only a couple minutes here. I'm trying to
Okay.
think. I got 50 million questions. I got to break it down to a couple.
Okay.
So, in regards to the band,
Yeah.
if someone was considering starting a band,
Yes.
what is some advice that you would give them?
Oh, wow. I guess it depends on what it is that you do. I mean, way back in the day, I used to go to Ward Brought Music Mall, and they
Sure.
had a little billboard there that you could kind of put up, a vocalist wanted, vocalist needed,
Oh, okay.
guitar player
Sure.
wanted, Maximum Inc.
Okay.
is a publication
Sure.
that I still think is distributed in and around the
It is,
Madison
yep,
area.
yep.
And there's always an ad in there. Again, with the advent of Facebook,
Right.
there's a whole lot of ways for someone to get their name out there. It was so funny because, I guess I don't think about this stuff all that often.
Sure.
Way back, So again, I went to Christian school growing
Yeah.
up. Was singing a lot of that kind of music. I was actually part of a prison ministry band
Were you
that we used to
really?
go. We used to go up to Oak Hill Correctional,
Sure.
Columbia County,
All
and
right.
we would get a chance to sing some songs with those guys, spend a little bit of time with them. I guess do a little bit of preaching and
Sure.
and just talk to them. That was
Sure.
you got more of a captive audience there.
I suppose they got
No
nowhere else
puns
to be,
intended,
right?
right? Yeah, but I know they appreciated it, and that was cool. Working my way, initially I did try to hook up in the Madison Musicians Guild. There's a local artist out there by the
Wait,
name.
that's an actual thing? Mm-hmm. I thought that was just a phrase. That's
No, there's an actual thing. Again, I don't know that it was as beneficial for me.
Okay.
Just trying to
What do they do?
support live local music, but
Okay.
there's a lot of other avenues that are out there.
Sure.
And I would say this, I know we got not too much time left.
Right.
It's very important, I think, in life what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do it with purpose. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I found myself, and I don't even know where I heard this or learned this, or I doubt I came up with it myself, but it's not about, I do know. In fact, it was a buddy of mine that went off to Nashville,
Oh,
who
nice.
was in a successful project here many years ago called Under the Gun.
Okay.
It was a big country band.
Sure.
And John Nicholson, in fact, and he had said, it's not about who you know, it's who knows you.
Sure. Totally true.
So then I started thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so how do I work that to my advantage?
Sure. Get people to know you.
Yeah, it's just, it's a slow drip.
Sure.
I had some really good friends in the radio world that I developed relationships with over time that were really helpful.
Yeah.
Tim Sweet, Mel McKenzie, those guys were invaluable
Sure.
in the early days. A gentleman by the name of Craig Ratty brought me on, took a chance on me in a band called Wild Heart.
Okay.
And I'm forever indebted to him. I've always told him that for taking a chance on me. I had a small stint with a band just prior to that. But, I think getting out and trying to be visible and showing people what it is that you have. Again, back
Yeah.
in the day before the internet
Yeah.
or before Facebook, I went out to karaoke bars singing
Sure.
and was just trying to get, someone to go,
Just
hey,
notice.
that guy can sing,
Oh, that's awesome.
and that was, really kind of how it worked for me. But I would encourage, anyone that's really trying to get into this and make it, meaningful for themselves. Depends on what level you want to do it at.
Right.
Get out and make some friends in the local music
Sure.
scene. Get acquainted.
Right.
Again, it's not about who you know.
Right.
It's who knows you.
Sure.
Do you walk in the room and they know who you are? Hey,
Right.
John. Hey, Susie. Hey,
Right.
make yourself a known commodity.
It's just some dude. All right. That's so awesome because that comes full circle to what we were talking about before to build upon your success, right? That you got to start at rung one.
But that can really work too back in the business world, and I've told countless clients that over time.
Yeah.
It's not about who you know, who knows you. And I've said that to staff that I've hired.
Sure.
And it's, and I say it and it resonates. It means something because I've applied it in my own
Sure.
life and I've seen that it does actually apply.
True. Very true. That's awesome. So, Andrew, where can people find you? Let's start with the business banker portion. Where can people find you on the interwebs there?
Do you want the website?
Sure.
Oh, so they can go to parkbank.com.
Okay.
And if you're Googling that in the Madison, there's a couple park banks that
Sure.
that actually exist.
Okay.
So it's actually the Park Bank.
The Park
That's
Bank.
that's the name of the bank. So
Sure.
the bank's been around since 1966. An amazing bank.
Yeah.
It's a smaller community bank. We actually just passed the $1 billion threshold this last year.
Nice.
Very excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great milestone.
Sure.
Amazing leadership. I'm
Right.
so happy to be a part of that and blessed to have that.
Sure.
As another part of me
Sure,
in my life.
right.
I know I called it the unfrosted side, but it's got we'll throw some frosting in there too.
Everybody's got to have the unfrosted side.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so. So
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't mean that it's boring though.
Right,
It's-
right. No, I understand what you're saying. Is there a phone number they could reach you at?
I give you my business cell phone if they've got questions
Sure,
and they want to reach
sure.
out to me. 608-228-4124.
Awesome. And then in regards to the cherry pie side, You guys got a website there, I imagine.
Yeah, cherrypie.org is where they
Okay.
can find it. Now, it's interesting, the cherrypie.org site that's maintained by Josh Becker, who's our keyboard player.
Yeah.
He does a really awesome blog about every show, just about every show.
A blog about every show?
Yes,
Holy
kind of
cow.
detailing where we were, what happened, if there
That's
was anything
awesome.
significant
Sure.
about it. He also memorializes the set lists
Okay.
from each show. So
Okay.
if you go out there, you can actually find a lot of information going back
Nice.
literally decades now
Oh, that's so cool.
about that. And of course, you can find us on Facebook with
Okay.
Cherry Pie. We've also got Instagram and
Sure.
all the other fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, Twitter.
Oh,
I don't really do all
the
that
social-
stuff. I don't
no.
manage. I don't manage any of that
totally
stuff.
get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Totally understand. Andrew, this has been a blast. I feel like we could talk for another 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Because, man,
Thank you.
I feel like we got somebody famous in the studio. This is
Uh,
awesome. Famous enough, we know you, so that's the important part.
Right.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land, coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for small businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. As well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs in all stages of their business on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Andrew Gonzalez, business banker at Park Bank and frontman for the band Cherry Pie. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 1 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunprairiemediacenter.com. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. I just love this song. It's good times.
It's great stuff.
Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.